Ever feel like the world's held together with, duct tape
Mm-hmm.
and like sheer willpower
Yeah,
of people who can like actually fix stuff?
totally.
That's fleet services in a nutshell, right? Keeping those delivery trucks, construction equipment, all of it running smoothly. But there's a big problem brewing. A serious lack of skilled technicians.
Huge problem. And it's only getting worse.
Okay, so imagine this. You're running a fleet of delivery trucks. Business is booming, right? But then your head mechanic announces he's retiring. Poof,
Yeah.
gone. Suddenly you're scrambling to figure out how to keep those trucks on the road, those packages moving. Sounds stressful.
That's the reality for a lot of companies right now. And the impact is, well, it's huge.
It's not just about replacing those retiring mechanics either.
Exactly. The demand for fleet services is going through the roof. Online shopping, global logistics, everything's growing. And on top of that, the skills needed are becoming, well, more complicated.
More complicated how?
Electric vehicles, they're the future, or at least a big part of it, but they require specialized knowledge, advanced diagnostics, not your grandpa's mechanic work anymore.
So you're saying it's like trying to find what's that saying? A needle in a haystack.
Pretty much, except the haystack is on fire.
Okay, yeah, that's a way better analogy. So how do companies even begin to deal with this?
Well, that's where businesses like Jess Recruiting come in, I guess. They claim to have a handle on it.
Their website, specifically their fleet services page, makes some pretty bold claims. They really seem to be positioning themselves as the solution to this technician shortage.
Yeah, and they're not just talking about throwing warm bodies at the problem. They emphasize finding the right technicians, those with the specific skills needed, and, get this, making sure they actually stay.
Retention. That's huge. What good is finding a unicorn if it runs away?
Exactly. They focus on three main things: finding skilled technicians, streamlining the hiring process, and yeah, you got it, retention.
Okay, so let's break it down. First up, finding those unicorns, those EV whisperers.
Yeah.
How's Jess Recruiting handling that?
They say they have a massive network. Makes sense if you're trying to connect with technicians who have experience with all things EV, electric drivetrains, battery diagnostics, the works.
And it can't just be about knowing the tech, right? It's got to be about safety, too. Those EVs, they can pack a punch, literally.
You're telling me high voltage systems, those aren't for just any mechanic. And Just Recruiting seems to get that, stressing that safety focus in their approach.
So they find the talent.
Yeah.
Then what? What about the actual hiring part? Because let's be honest, nobody enjoys that process.
Tell me about it. But that's where their, what do they call it? Their streamlined hiring process comes in. They handle everything. Sourcing candidates, screening, background checks, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like a dream, especially for those busy fleet managers who are already juggling a million things.
Oh, for sure. Saves time, money, and probably a whole lot of headaches.
Speaking of headaches, let's talk about retention. It's one thing to find these super qualified technicians. It's a whole other ballgame to keep them around. So how's Jess Recruiting tackling that challenge?
Right, and this is where it gets interesting. They seem to understand that it's about more than just a paycheck. Sure, competitive compensation is huge, but they also talk about like sign-on bonuses, performance incentives tied to minimizing downtime stuff that really speaks to a fleet-based business.
So they're thinking about the bigger picture. It's about making sure those technicians feel valued.
Yeah. They also emphasize professional development. Technicians, especially in a field that's constantly evolving, they want to stay on top of their game. They want to keep learning.
It's about investing in your workforce for the long haul.
Mm.
Create a place where these skilled workers feel challenged, appreciated,
And when you think about the cost of losing just one experienced technician, the recruitment, the training, keeping them happy is just good business sense.
Seriously. Now, there was one more thing on their website that caught my eye. Government contracts. Those can be a nightmare to navigate.
Oh, tell me about it. Bureaucracy galore. But Just Recruiting, they make it clear that they understand the ins and outs, the specific requirements, all the compliance standards. They basically hold your hand through the whole thing.
That kind of guidance is invaluable, especially when you're dealing with government contracts. So it sounds like Jess Recruiting is really trying to address this technician shortage head on. They're not just filling a void. They're focusing on long-term solutions.
Absolutely. They're going beyond just placing a warm body in a seat. They're thinking about the skills gap, the hiring process, and most importantly, how to retain that top-tier talent. It's a multi-pronged approach that seems to be resonating with companies in the industry.
And that's the key takeaway here, folks. This isn't just about filling a job. It's about creating a sustainable workforce in a rapidly changing field.
You got it. It's about finding those skilled technicians, but then it's up to the companies to keep them, to create an environment where they can thrive.
Now that leaves me with one final thought for you all. If you were running a fleet-dependent business in today's climate, what would be your top priority for not just attracting but holding on to those highly skilled technicians?